to shoot some video on the drive-in. I find if I shoot at 1080p, a level down, at a higher frame rate, the video quality is actually better.
Oh, yes?
Yeah. Especially like when you're hiking and backpacking and the frames are kind of, or even driving, the frames are moving. Because 4K, in this camera, 4K is only 30 frames per second.
I see.
Yeah.
If you want, you can do it from the roof. You can open.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we'll do that too. Either way.
Awesome.
What drone do you have?
Me?
Yes.
None at the moment. I'm actually saving up to get a Mavic Pro.
Rocks. Yeah. Can slide very nicely.
Granite. Pure granite. Look at that.
At the Roger station.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
I'm actually going to see it happen this trip.
You
No,
can see today,
maybe from a distance we might. So we made it on up here. We're at 10 Lakes Trailhead. Trails are pretty full, parking's pretty full. So we're just paring down some food, getting the bear canisters prepped for breakfast and lunch tomorrow. What a beautiful place. It is 10 o'clock. Yeah, 10 o'clock. We got a fairly early start, and by the time we got registered and got our trail permits and everything, it's already 10 o'clock. Had a great breakfast back at the other campsite, which I didn't film. So that was a quick little overnight car camp just outside of Yosemite, and we just did that because it's easier. And we drove on in this morning. So thanks for joining me today, guys, on our adventure, and we'll hit the trails pretty soon. So I wanted to capture a lot of that drive-in on Route 120. I think that's a really spectacular drive, and there's some amazing scenery along that route. So not everybody is, you know, into backpacking and hiking, and if you guys aren't into that, hey, go for it. You know, that's a-okay. You know, the idea is to just get out into the outdoors and enjoy it however you can, however mobile you might be, and just, you know, log out, power down from the electronics, and get out into the real world and enjoy it however possible. So we drove in on Route 120, and we parked at the Yosemite 10 Lakes Trailhead. And we did about 6.5 miles northeast into the 10 Lakes area, and we started out at about 7,500 feet, and we climbed up to Half Moon Meadow at about 9,600 feet, and from there we kind of dropped down another 500 or 600 feet down into the 10 Lakes area. So there's a series of trails, I think, that goes from lake to lake. So if you wanted to do like a multi-day, a couple more days, you could easily do that. And just a beautiful area. So the other thing about this weekend is I forgot to pack my camera mount for my trail cam. Normally I like to mount that on my trekking pole, either the right or the left, or I switch back and forth, and it gives me a much more stabilized video. So my camera has optical image stabilization already, but I like to mount it on my trekking pole, and my trekking pole actually serves as a gimbal. A very, very simple gravity, I guess, operated camera gimbal, because I can kind of suspend it there, and it takes a lot of the trail motion out of my video footage when I do that. Now this trip here I forgot my camera mount, so and I forgot my duct tape. So I never go camping or backpacking without duct tape, except on this trip here I somehow managed to forget it. I usually keep maybe 10 feet or so, maybe 5 or 10 feet of duct tape on an old library card, and I keep that stashed away in my backpack. But I forgot it this trip, so I could have easily just used pieces of duct tape and taped my camera to my pole, but I even forgot that too. So all the video you're seeing on this trek here is handheld. Oh, get a little of that. Wouldn't want that falling on me. That'd be a bad day. Yeah. So normally handheld camera angles and footage is not really my thing, but in this case it really was. And so later on in some of the more rocky technical areas of the hike, you're going to hear my trekking poles banging and clanging around on all the rocks and things in the ground, because I've got my camera, like right there, I've got my camera in my right hand and my poles in my left hand. So one of the things I did was, about halfway through the trek, I tethered my camera to the sternum strap on my backpack, and I was kind of like a neck lanyard almost, kind of carrying the camera that way, so at least I can kind of carry it that way and then hold it up at my chest level when I wanted to shoot video and shoot footage. So I think my point of view, it started to become a very first-person POV kind of thing once I kind of had my camera tethered basically under my neck. The other thing it does too is it really accentuated my breathing, so you can really hear the microphone and my camera really pick up I call it my Darth Vader breathing, but it's basically my high altitude breathing. And when I'm so used to hiking at lower California elevations that when I get in these upper 9,000, 8,000 feet, 9,000 feet, the thin air, it takes me about a half day to really acclimate myself to the thin air. And you can hear me kind of mechanically breathing like basically Darth Vader. And it's kind of how I make sure I take in enough air and oxygen and keep my pace up as well. So a lot of these trails are fairly technical. The really technical rocky ones, I simply put the camera away because I needed both hands on my trekking pole to kind of get through those areas at the 2.5 to 3 mile per hour pace that we were doing. Almost lost my footing there. Rocks. Rocks, rocks, rocks. Probably the most difficult terrain to hike through, especially when you're holding a camera, trying to capture the footage. like I am. Doing good. So far, so good. Working on my high altitude Darth Vader breathing. A very mechanical way to breathe. Just drawing air into the lungs, soaking it up, and a long exhale. It takes about a half-day hike or so for me to really acclimate. Okay, I gotta put the camera down for this. I want to use both trekking poles. So all the trails on this trek were really well marked and really well identified, and you can definitely see that on these rock faces here. So at no point did we ever feel like we lost the trail, or at no point did we ever get that sixth sense where you realize, oops, I'm off trail or whatever. No, that never happened on this trek. So the other thing that came apparent to me on this part of the trek was just how much leverage I put into my trekking poles. So basically, with a camera in the right hand and two poles clanging around on my left, I'm really not able to put the thrust into them going up the hills that I normally do.
Yeah.
So what you're seeing here in this video and this footage is basically two poles in my left hand clanging and banging around, you know, out of cadence with my pace.
Wow. What a view.
And pretty much useless, basically getting in the way. If anything, they were probably slowing me down. So when I mount my camera onto one of the poles, I at least have the other pole available to really pound into the ground and propel me along. And again, you're in cadence with the pace that we're doing. So we were probably doing about a 2.5, maybe 3 mile per hour pace going up some of these technical areas. A little bit more in the flats and the downhills. So I also tend to be a kind of slow, methodical, uphill, technical terrain hiker.
Oh, yay. A little rest. A little bit of a break from those rocks. Nice.
How's it going?
How's it going?
All smiles. You're all downhill to the parking lot. All downhill, guys. Keep it up. Backpackers are by far some of the coolest people, just complete strangers I've run into just out and about. I think it's the idea of just being out in the outdoors. It takes the edge off of everybody's personalities. That's my theory. Gosh, beautiful. Amazing.
Doug, you choose the perfect weather for this hike.
Yeah, great job, Doug.
I'll take full credit.
I'm sure your gourmet dinner tonight, Mark, I'm sure your gourmet dinner is just going to be awesome tonight. That all your planning and preparation for that meal, we're going to really enjoy it. Yeah, right. We'll eat anything hot at that point. Yeah, still going, keep going. Came up a steady climb, leveling off just a bit. Still all smiles, feeling good, doing good on the water. Legs are feeling okay. Lungs are a little bit short of breath. Just got to get used to that high altitude. Something I'm just not accustomed to. So, doing all right. Got to pick up my pace a little bit. So I tend to kind of take my time over technical uphill. And so I really fall behind the group during those segments. So that means these downhills and the flats really need to kind of book it, try and keep up. Don't want to fall too far behind. Still working on my Darth Vader breathing technique. And that's working out pretty well. Just lounging around the log. So we're making our way, climbing up, probably around maybe 9,000 feet elevation right now. So this whole trek has pretty much been an uphill climb. Some of it technical, or I should say moderately technical, with some of the exposed rock, but most of it has been kind of like this. Working on my breathing. That's probably the most important thing. Particularly on these flatter segments. Really want to fill my lungs up. Howdy, how's it going?
Have a good afternoon.
Good. Okay. You know, when you hear people huffing and puffing, that when you encounter people huffing and puffing, that means we got all downhill. Everybody coming up was all smiles facing us. Nice. Wow. Oh my gosh. That's unreal. So we're 1.5 miles from 10 Lakes area. That's our destination. Pretty sure most of this is going to be level grade. Maybe a mile or so more uphill. And that'll be it. Wow, what a view. That's where we came down from. And coming up to a nice meadow here. Oh my gosh. Wow. Look at that. Wow. Are you kidding me? Whew. So we're starting to come down now off Half Moon Meadow, and you're starting to see our campsite destination way down into the lake area off to the right there. So all these exposed kind of peaks are such a stark difference from the redwood forest that we've been hiking through up until this point. So the terrain drastically changes, the footing drastically changes as well. So at this point, Mark had scampered off to the ledge over there towards the left, and he got some great pictures from up there. Where's he going? Just up to that. Okay. All right. So you can kind of tell from the audio there that I wasn't even really using my trekking poles for anything. So here's the view looking down into 10 lakes. I'm not sure why they actually call it 10 lakes. I don't think it actually is 10 lakes, or if it is, it's maybe a few larger ones and a bunch of small ones, but clearly you can see 2 or 3 lakes from here. And you can actually see our campsite destination towards the right. There's a little patch of like granite rock exposed, and that's where we're going. So much of this is probably the rockiest, most technical terrain that we encountered. So I had to put the camera away and bust out 2 poles on the way down. So it's basically about 600 feet on down into the lakes, about 1.25 miles away. So it's just pure granite, rocky switchbacks going down. So here we are, we kind of at the base of that, and we're leveling off, and we're approaching the lakes. You can totally tell from my breathing, obviously, that it's pretty much level ground here, or it's been pretty much level and downhill. So that's the one thing about the camera, is it doesn't really show elevation grade. So I mean, everything looks relatively flat and relatively level from the camera eye view. And here's a gorgeous view of the lake we were at. So our tent site is up in those trees, just up in that tree line there. And there were a bunch of tent flats up in that area. So there was one other group on the lake, and they had already been here for a couple of days, I think. And you can kind of see their tents kind of in the granite rocks off towards the right there, little orange tents. So there were a bunch of spots down there to easily filter and process water. And here we are at camp, getting ready for dinner. Okay, on the menu tonight, you've got fresh lake water. Spaghetti with meat sauce. Boiled to death. Chicken teriyaki. Lasagna with meat sauce, and beef stroganoff with noodles. Oh, and we've got cider, and some noodle soup. There we go. We're going to be full, fat, and happy.
You want to?
Yeah, let's do that.
What's
yeah.
the ratio? Is like you think a whole packet?
Why don't you let him?
Yes.
Let Doug sample.
Mine might
wait a little bit for the.
Okay, is this one done? Almost. Almost. Alright. You just put the whole pack in there, Ken?
I did. I'm not
Okay.
saying it's good.
It's enough sodium in there.
Yeah.
Enough sodium for a week.
Salty, I guess.
How's this one doing?
These are some stuff.
Almost.
Stuff in it.
You got extra, extra protein. Either protein or.
Yeah, there was going to be something. Oh shoot, that's my method of stirring it up.
No, it's fine.
But you can
I'll use.
I could get the filter and squeeze it in.
Yeah, it's just put the filter on it and give it a thing, right? A squeeze. So how long do we need to let these boil, you guys? At least a few minutes, right? Whoa. See, I have a smaller cup than you, so I'm gonna.
It's about the same.
About the same? Oh, okay. How's the salinity? It's all right. Should I cut back?
It's a little salty.
A little salty.
I
Okay.
don't know how you're gonna selectively.
Yeah, right. I'll do a half.
What you can do is to pour some.
Yeah. Split it. Maybe split it.
Add water.
Yeah.
First year one year we did this, and we made some. We really did. We freeze dried stuff. We made our own freeze dried things.
Oh.
And
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't that great. But
Nice.
there's clearly they added a ton of stuff.
Yeah.
But so, but it was Joey had that Palo Alto firefighter pepper sauce.
Oh.
Which is really good.
Cool.
So we added that. And suddenly, this is
Cool. Yeah.
The thing is that I don't know what we did. We had a dehydrator and we dehydrated, peppers and ground beef and we did all that stuff and with couscous or something like that.
Yeah.
So, so this was part of the cooking merit badge. I mean, Heather actually oversaw them doing all this stuff, and so we made all these individual pouches and all that. But I don't know, beef never really dehydrates properly.
Oh.
It's just, there's something that these people are doing.
Ever just supposed to use lean beef?
Well,
Like
so
no fat or ground turkey, white meat ground turkey.
Then you should put some like breadcrumbs in it.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Anyway, I'm not sure that they did.
Yeah. Just cooking it to perfection. Okay, I'm gonna have some more of your soup here, Mark.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Okay. Death boil is going. Not too much sediment in this batch. Pretty clear. Okay. Should put it straight in here. There we go. Okay. I'm going gourmet on mine. I'm going to put some cheese in there. There we go. I'll kneel on the rock, that way I don't get pine sap. Oh, okay, yeah. There we go. I kneeled in a bunch of pine sap over there.
Yeah.
It's like, man. Ugh. Okay. Okay, there we go. Ooh, yeah, it's definitely cooked.
Yes.
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah. Put some cheese in there. Nice. There we go. Let that sit for a few minutes. Oh, you know what? Yeah. to do this. That's good.
So, where did you find the dry rice? Oh, no, who bought the dry rice for the stouts? James? Okay, where did he get it? Safeway. Safeway? Yes. Just for instant rice. Okay, I see. But he transferred them into Ziploc bags. I see.
So I can reach it easier.
Yes.
Oh. I'm looking more. Need a longer spoon or fork, whatever. Yeah. Ooh, good job, Mark. Awesome.
Cooked to perfection.
Yeah.
Still needs of absorption.
Perfect.
Anybody wants to taste the beef stroganoff?
I've had it before.
Yes.
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah. But this one and the chili mac with cheese are my favorite. I don't know why. Like you said, they just seem to taste better, cook better.
We're getting some gold light on the hills over there.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yes.
Ooh, wow. That's good. Oh, apple cider too.
Yes.
Yeah. So I've got you guys mounted up on the headband. Scouts are getting set up. Got some tents coming up this way. My gear top trekking pole tent. And I wanted to demonstrate how I inflate my thermarest pad using an inflate sack. So I use this sack. It doubles up as my clothing stuff sack, and I can also use it as a pillow too. I've done that before with equal success, using my clothes of course. But I fill it up with air like this. And you simply force the air into the thermarest. It's a little bit easier than blowing it with your lungs, and since I'm carrying a clothing stuff sack anyways, just like that. Simple. No batteries, no lungs, no moisture condensation in the bag, and of course no spit. And you do this a few times. Just like that, and it's almost full actually. So it needs about 5 or 6 of these bags full. So once I get to this point, I grab the nozzle, pull it off, blow into it. One big breath, and tighten it up. Good to go. And of course, now I can reuse the sack as my clothing bag. Doubles up as a pillow if I want. I have an air pillow, but if I want, I can use this as a pillow just as well. Yeah. So it's about 9 o'clock. Beautiful sunrise across the lake. So we're doing the hike back out, up and out of the lake area. Didn't get a whole lot of video coming up. It's so technical. I really needed both hands on the trekking poles. All right, keep going. right. So we're making our way up out of the lake area, all downhill from here. What an amazing hike. It's about 9 o'clock, 9:05 right now. Sun is still rising. More miles, almost there. 2 miles and all downhill. We made it back to the parking area. That was a great hike up and out of the lake area. Awesome. Highly technical areas of trail. Most of it was downhill, although the 600 feet climb up and out of the lake basin area was semi-challenging. Although I have to admit, after a day up here, I'm totally used to the high altitude and the thin air. That for me is the biggest challenge. It's just acclimating and conditioning my breathing and all that jazz. So thanks for tuning in with me here today, guys. We are wrapping it up here. That was a great hike and a great camping weekend at Yosemite 10 Lakes, both the trail and the lakes themselves. I'll catch you guys later on the next adventure. Remember, everybody, stay safe out there and enjoy the outdoors. I'll catch you later.